Harmony. Thanks for joining me. It is New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2025. And normally I would go over the astrology of the week. This is a special video that I'm putting out now. And I'm talking specifically about the transition from 2025 to 2026 energetically on three different levels: numerologically, the Chinese calendar, as well as the Western astrology. Okay, so I could go over the astrology, of 2026, but honestly, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. In each piece, I'll do it week by week, month by month. But I really want to focus on that transition. Transition's important because we're leaving, number one, talking about the numerology here, we're leaving a 9-year. Okay, there's every 9 years, there's a 9-year cycle that starts and ends. Okay, so we're in the end of the 9-year that started in 2017, ends in 2025. Think back to 2017. What has this clump of 9 years been for you? It's over now. Okay, we start another a 1 year here in 2026 that'll last through 2034. Okay, now this happens every 9 years. It's not a huge deal, but it does signify the end of the endings, the beginning of beginnings, right? Every 9 years. On top of that, we have the Chinese New Year, which doesn't kick in until February 17th. That's when we have a solar eclipse in Aquarius. That'll kick off eclipse season. It kicks off the Chinese New Year. But this will be a fire horse year, which is all about movement, all about initiating the new, etc. Okay? And so we're coming off of this wood snake year, which is all about shedding and releasing. So very similar to the 9-year numerologically, we have this Chinese New Year like mimicking that ending of endings and beginning of beginnings. Okay, and that only happens, like those only coincide with each other, a 9 to a 1 and a wood snake to a fire horse every 540 years. So think back to the 1480s, right? Okay, this is probably when the discussions were happening in Europe about sending someone across the Atlantic to this new world, right? It's very often. Then we put the Western astrology on top of that. Okay, and we have what's coming, which is the Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees Aries. So a Saturn-Neptune conjunction is already significant in terms of societal evolution. You throw the fact that it's at 0 degrees Aries, that's the start of the zodiac. Right now, Saturn and Neptune are in the end of Pisces, the end of the zodiac. So we're literally ending a stage of societal evolution and beginning a whole new one. This happens, we have to go hundreds of years back before you even get a Saturn Neptune conjunction at that threshold of Pisces to Aries. So you combine that with the numerology, the Chinese New Year, and we're talking thousands of years that we have this kind of triple combination of an endings and a beginnings kind of theme. Okay? And just speaking specifically with the astrology of Saturn-Neptune conjunctions, we can go back to 1917. Okay, this was a Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Leo. This was literally the start of the communist revolutions across the world. Okay, this was when the Russian Tsar was overthrown. Okay, communism came in to Russia, then it spread to other countries. Okay, that whole period from 1917, where that Saturn-Neptune conjunction started in Leo, until the next one in 1952, was essentially the spread of communism. Okay, when China went communist, that was 1949. So right at the end of that period. So it was a welcome the new boss, same as the old boss kind of situation. It was like, hey, we got a new way of governing the people, no more monarchs, but here's communism. But it didn't work. Okay, a lot of people died under those regimes, whether it's Stalin or Mao or whatever. Okay, and the response to that during that period was fascism, which wasn't any better, right? The lesson we can learn from that is that top-down control, where the few have the power and the many don't, doesn't work. Okay, 1952 to 1989 was the next period. Saturn conjunction Neptune in 1952 in Libra. Okay, this was when you picked the side. Libra is all about the sides. Okay, you were either on the side of communism or on the side of capitalism, and everything that happened from 1952 to 1989 had to do with that. The Korean War, the Vietnam War, right? The Cold War, everything involved this battleground, this line. And there was even a symbolic wall, which was the Berlin Wall. I mean, it was actually a physical wall, but it had symbolism as well as a physicality to it. That came down in 1989 with the conjunction of Saturn and Neptune in Capricorn. Okay, so this ended that Cold War in 1989, but it started what we've been in since then, and which ends here in February of 2026, when Saturn joins Neptune at 0 degrees Aries. So we're at the end of what has been all about globalism. So there were definite sides from 1952 to 1989, but since 1989, there's been pretend sides, a pretend left and right, when in reality, it's been the corporations and governments working at the top and the people at the bottom, okay? Elections are, pretending, it's like wrestling, right? Professional wrestling. They pretend to have good guys and bad guys. At the end of the day, everyone, gets dinner bought for them, right? That's the way it's worked since 1989. It's a very top-down model. There's no difference in the U.S. There's no difference between the Bushes and the Clintons, right? They pretend to be on different sides, but they're really on one side. They're all on the top. And so we're coming to the end of that. We're coming to the end of this period. And what does that look like? The sky's the limit, really. With Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees Aries, it's like a clean slate. And in a lot of ways, the responsibility, Saturn, comes back to us, individuals, Aries, okay? Neptune in Aries as well. That's taking our whole selves, our whole souls, and allowing ourselves to live here as we are in our wholeness, okay? Until this point, it's been hard to do that. What this world is going to look like from here forward is very, very unknown, okay? Because it really is what we make of it as individuals. We're coming into our sovereignty, okay? Like who we are as sovereign individuals, ungoverned by the above. So what's collapsing here are a couple of things, okay? The almost Berlin Wall-like filter of the mainstream media has protected the top from us, has kept them, kept the stories in line so that we believe things and we follow things and we do things that help them out, okay? That filter is falling away, okay? It's been several years of the mainstream media ratings going down, independent media ratings going up, and we're going to reach this threshold. It's this culmination point, critical mass that's happening in 2026, where more people are getting their information as individuals from individual sources rather than from some top-down dictate. That's changing everything because you can't control people that way. And what this Saturn-Neptune conjunction is also doing is pulling in Pluto and Aquarius with a sextile and Uranus and Gemini with a sextile. I mean, you don't get Saturn-Neptune conjunctions like that, where all the outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, are involved. And so this is a whole new stage of evolution where the power is coming back to the people, where information is freer. That's that Uranus and Gemini, okay? That changes the landscape. That means that with the technology that we have and the technology developments that we're going to have over the next several years, the reason to even turn to a mainstream outlet or something top down is going to be pointless. It's not going to make any sense. By the time we get to the end of this 9-year cycle in 2034, the world's going to be very, very different looking. We're going to have, the technology for us to connect and everything is going to allow us to avoid that altogether. All right. So anyway, coming into this sovereignty, this is a whole new world. It really is. It's not just a new year. This is a transition from an old way to a new way. Look for it to unfold over the coming months. When we get to the astrological new year, that's when the sun enters Aries on March 20th. Mercury will also turn direct in Pisces that day. Late March into April is when all of this will really start moving forward. Everything's being established. Tomorrow will be the beginning of the 1 year when January 1st hits, sets the stage. We get the Chinese New Year on February 17th. We get the conjunction of Saturn-Neptune at 0 degrees Aries on February 20th. Then we have a Mercury retrograde. And then the astrological new year happens on March 20th. That's when everything really kicks in. From late March into April to be when things speed up, when it gets noticeable, when we know, wow, we're in a whole new world. Okay. If you have any questions, please let me know. I specialize. I call my services Sovereign Harmony is the name of my brand, and it's all about this. It's all about this idea of coming into our sovereignty so that we can create harmony with each other. The disharmony that results in the world is from blocking us from our sovereignty. So that's really how I focus on it. If you want me to go over your chart, what this transition of years means for you, please let me know. If you follow me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, doesn't matter. Follow me anywhere you want. I will be out here once a week doing my Hill Talks on Sundays, but this is a special one for you. Anyway, enjoy your new year. Enjoy this crazy transition that we're in, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.